Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Philosophical from the Let's Rock podcast, and welcome to the Freedom Friday. First, I want to say like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube page, Let's Rock Podcast. You guys know what to do. Give your comments, let us know what you think. Definitely give your opinion on this content. And today, pretty much what's been on my mind and some things I want to talk about is, are your insecurities toxic? And my answer to that is yes. But wait before you kind of jump down my throat and saying, he doesn't understand how I feel, different things like that. So let me get into it. Yes, they are, you know, but there's a caveat to that. It's all about how you've gotten through those insecurities, right? And I want to speak of it from three different facets, right? You're single, you're in a relationship, or you're married. So let's speak on the single folks, right? I think very deeply on this because I dealt with this at one time to where, I was insecure about a lot of things, right? But the problem is I never dealt with it. I never worked through it. I never put it in perspectives of why are these things on my mind? Why do I feel so insecure about these things? Why? And the answer to that is that I still held on to what that other person did to me, you know? And I know we've spoken a lot on we as people playing a part in relationships as two people in a relationship, yes. But what happens is we as people we're jumping into relationship and we're not working on those insecurities, right? And don't misconstrue this, right? And I'll get to this in a second. Don't misconstrue insecurities for trauma, right? They're similar. They're being you work on them the same way, but at the same time, it's like they can be toxic. Why? Because it can affect your present and it can affect your future and it can affect your decision making. And I want to speak to our audience out there that's in a relationship, that's dealing with insecurities, that's dealing with trauma, that's dealing with these things. The reason why a lot of times you're going through what you're going through, the constant arguments, not saying they're not going to be arguments, the constant disagreements, you're feeling like your conversations and your disagreements and your everyday life and your everyday, you know, relationship is revolved around the same conversations. That's insecurities, right? And I know for myself, I used to look at insecurities as if nothing's wrong with me, nothing's going on with me. That's your problem. You got to fix it. And that goes into my solution I'm going to go into in a few minutes on insecurities. The reasons why we have insecurities, as I spoke before, we hold on to them based off of what other people did to us. We haven't dealt with it. We also hold on to insecurities on the way we were brought up, the way we grew up, the way our mother treated our father, the way our father treated our mother, the way your parents treated you. A lot of that's instilled in your brain to the fact that, is this the way I treat a relationship? Is this the way I treat a marriage? Is this the way I treat a potential partner? All those insecurities play a factor. But this is the thing. Are you going to work through it? So I go back to, again, you're in a relationship, you're dealing with the same conversation, the same arguments, the same issues in your relationship all the time. How are you going to work through it? Do you want to work through it? Do you want to talk about it? Right. And that's what's missing in a lot of our relationships and even marriages, is that from a relationship to a marriage, we bring those insecurities into a marriage and we don't work on them. And that's the toxicity in you, right? Whether you haven't worked through consciously that, hey, this is how I grew up, that you got to be able to speak on it and communicate it and walk through that and work through that. Or, right, your previous relationship, how someone treated you through many different facets that I've spoken to before. They cheated on you. They left you. You felt a lack of abandonment. You weren't getting out of a relationship that you felt you deserved, and you haven't gotten over that. That's toxicity. You're carrying over insecurities into relationships and marriages and trying to blame other people on why they don't work because you refuse to work on it to get rid of that toxicity. Because insecurities, trauma, right? If you can't work through it or refuse to work on it, work through it, right? It could affect your present and your future. Point blank. So let's speak on that, those insecurities. Why are they happening? Are they warning signs? Are they intuition? A lot of times we view insecurities as a potential reality that someone is treating us this way, that someone is doing something to us, or someone did something in your current situation, relationship, or marriage that has been done before and it failed, it didn't work. And it's an automatic trigger. It's an automatic insecurity that your mind races quickly to that moment. And that's the toxicity in that. And my solution to that is you work on it within yourself, right? To really understand and know who you're, first of all, who you are. Second of all, understand who your partner is and really ask yourself, this insecurity that's in my mind right now, is this something that my partner is or could be or could treat me this way? Or if they have treated you this way before, you haven't let it go. You haven't been able to work through within yourself and your partner to say, what you did, I haven't let it go. And that's why insecurities are toxic. It's toxic in relationships, it's toxic in marriages. Because all you're doing is you're transferring that toxicity, those insecurities, those traumas into a marriage. And guess what, everybody? Marriage doesn't fix those insecurities and toxicity. They don't. If anything, it makes it worse because you're with someone even longer, right? For a lifetime, some people say, right? And there's divorce and all that. But you're with somebody for a lifetime. What do you think happens when you don't deal with those insecurities? They linger, they stay there, right? You're sitting back waiting for someone to do something and it triggers you. And instead of addressing it and communicating and talking about it and working through it, not only within yourself, but within your partner, it you react on 100 to the fact that, I can't deal with this person, right? A lot of times we don't put our pride to the side, and that's really pretty much what it is, pride, to work on ourselves because insecurity is toxic. It can be toxic, but the toxicity goes away when you have understood and been able to work through it, those insecurities, those traumas, those issues, right? A lot of times, you know, we're in relationships, we're married to people, yeah, they get on our nerves, we disagree, but you got to be able to understand and learn that those insecurities that come up, those traumas, those come up, and it's easier said than done, but working through them. Because I have, right? I'm not the only man in this world that can sit up here and say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, but right, yeah, I have insecurities. I have traumas that affect me. Yeah, but with growth and continuing to develop a pattern of how to work through those things, right? It I have learned to get past those things. So this is the solution I give to people that that are dealing with insecurities. Insecurities are toxic and can be toxic to your present and your future. But this is how you get through insecurities, right? First, looking at yourself to determine, is it worth it, right? Secondly, looking within yourself to understand that this person that did this to you, are they still in your life? If they are, you need to address it with them. If they're not, what are you holding on that for? What are you holding on to those insecurities for? Right? You're protecting yourself to try to make yourself feel invulnerable that it won't happen to you again, when really you get into another relationship, you're refusing to work on the insecurities and refusing to speak to your partner on these insecurities, right? That this is what either they did or someone else did, because what someone else did that's not your partner is not their fault. So pretty much, right? You got to work within yourself to say, is it worth it? Third thing, right? Getting to know your partner, whether you're in a relationship or marriage. Is your partner capable of doing the things that your mind is telling you they can potentially do? Sure. Yeah. And that's where the toxicity comes in. You knowing what you're knowing your partner's actions versus what you think they would do. And that's the catch 22. Is there a potential they could do it? Yes, completely. Yes. Is there a thought in someone back in somebody's mind to think there's a small chance that what I'm thinking about, the insecurity I'm thinking about, could happen? Yes, completely. Right. But what if you're wrong? That's the toxic part about it. We go into insecurities and thinking so much of the insecurities that they continue to come into our mind and that memory to the fact that we feel it's reality. And we harp on that reality and we execute relationships, we execute uh marriages and not understanding our partner, right? So instead of jumping the gun on those insecurities, sit back and watch and observe a person's actions, getting to know your partner. So, right, are insecurities toxic? Yes, they're only as toxic as you make them to be, because your choice of wanting to work through it and wanting to work through it through your partner is on you, right? So free yourself from jumping the gun on insecurities that are toxic. Yes, it can be toxic. Yes, to your present and future. Let it go. If that person is no longer in your life and you don't want to address it, that's work on it within you to let it go. Free yourself. Free yourself. Right. Get to know your partner. Get to know the person you're dealing with. If you don't trust this person, you feel like you're insecure that you're with someone that can potentially do something. Your mind is constantly telling you it's a reality, but through their actions, they're not this way. Sit back and observe. Sit back and understand who your partner is. Work through it. All right. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the Let's Rock podcast of Philosophical. I'm out. Peace, y'all.